Okay, this is lesson 8 and it's all about the resources you'll need when you're starting an online business. Now some of these will seem very obvious to you, but some of them perhaps are things that you thought of, and it's just as well to get them out of the way now and get your mind focused on what you need in total to build a proper business. First of all, here's a quote from Vince Lombardi, who was a well-known coach in American football, and he said, "I've never known a really successful man who deep in his heart did not understand the grind, the discipline it takes to win." And I think that's very important, because that's one of the things that you're going to need. It's going to be your resource that comes from within, if you like. It's essential for your success to have this attitude within you. Understand that there is going to be a grind, and you will need to be disciplined, and you will need to be consistent, and you will need to just keep going and keep going and keep going until you get where you want to go. Now, in the past we've talked about whether you're the right kind of person for an online business and whether it's the right kind of business for you. So today let's talk about the resources that you'll need to have if you want to start an internet business. Maybe you're about to start, or maybe you already have an online business. Is it as simple as having an internet connection and a desire to succeed? An online business is the most affordable type of business available, but I've found there are a few things that you'll need to have. Some of the things may not be required, but will greatly enhance your ability to succeed. So I'm listing the items that you will need and those that you should also add if possible. First of all, let's cover the essentials. Some of them very obvious. A computer. As I say, it may seem obvious, but you need to have the ability to view videos, edit spreadsheets, edit web pages, etc. It doesn't need to be the best, the latest, the most expensive model, but the more processing capabilities, known as RAM, the better, as you'll find you often have several programs open at the same time. Ideally, your computer should be at least as good as the systems used by your average buyers. You could also consider a laptop, especially if you're only going to have one computer, as it'll make your business portable. If you're going with a laptop only, then I'd suggest getting a larger one with a big display and keyboard. However, if it's just a backup for vacations, etc., then a smaller one would work. The cost for a desktop will probably range from about $250 up to $1,000, and for a laptop from maybe $350 up to $1,500. There are more expensive options available, but really for an online business you don't need the biggest and the best. Do, however, look for the biggest RAM and processing speeds you can get when buying, but you'll find you'll not need fancy video capabilities that are used for gaming and things like that. You'll need an internet connection. Once again, it may seem obvious, but struggling with a poor connection will bring you more pain and frustration than anything else. So go for the best connection you can afford. If available, fibre optic. If not, then broadband. It may be that these are not available where you live, although most areas are now covered. When I first moved to Utah, I had to install satellite, which, although slow for uploads, did work. Nowadays there are some very fast wireless connections, with 4G becoming common, but it all depends on the area you live. The bottom line is get the best available that you can possibly afford. Another essential is an antivirus program. I'm listing it as a requirement because your computer is your business, and if you get files destroyed by a virus, your business can be lost in a flash. Most computers come equipped with a trial antivirus software, and almost all are pretty good, even the free ones. I use AVG, which has a very good free version, although I now use the paid version to help filter my spam. But I've heard good reports on Avast, and Microsoft now build in Windows Defender for their newer systems, and if you've got an older version, you can download Microsoft Security Essentials. I'll put the links down below. I also recommend Malwarebytes in addition to other antivirus, and they too have a free version. Just as important, and for the same reasons as covered above, you need a computer backup. Your computer and files are your business. I learned this the hard way with 2 hard drive crashes in my 17 years online, one of which cost me in the region of, well, it cost me thousands of dollars. At one time I'd have recommended an external hard drive and that you back up manually each day. But nowadays you can get automated backup in the cloud. It's truly set and forget, and these commonly start from as little as $8 a month. Email address. This is essential, and I know that all of you here will have an email address. But I recommend you also get a free Gmail account for your business in addition to other email addresses. A zip program. You'll need this because much information is processed using zip files. These are ways that we condense matter so that it makes it easier to send, upload and download. There are very good free programs available, and the one I use is called 7-Zip. Under the heading of productivity, we've got things like word processing, spreadsheets. Microsoft Office, for example, is a good system, but it can be expensive, and there are free options such as WPS and OpenOffice. And once again, I'll put the links down below. Now, that pretty much covers the essentials, and we can move on to the recommended. Startup capital. You know, this is one of the most common questions I'm asked. How much do I need to get started? Well, I did cover this in an earlier video, but there will always be expenses associated with any business, and it helps if you have some cash put on one side to meet these. If you don't have any cash, then you'll have to manage without, but life will be easier the more you have. As a guide, I personally think $200 to $500 is a minimum starting level you should aim for, but the more you have, the better. This doesn't mean you should go spending without thought, especially on those shiny objects. It's there for things you'll need as your business starts to take shape. So plan on getting 200 or more together as a minimum, so you can, for example, take part in some of the paid traffic sources we'll explore. These we plan to run in profit, but you need cash to get them started before you start seeing returns. Another thing that's not essential but desirable is a debit or credit card. It may be possible to have an online business without one, but you'll be at a serious disadvantage. So do whatever you can to get one. The idea of this is not to run into debt. It's simply that so many web-based services only accept payment by card. A PayPal account. Once again, you can do business without, but once again, you'll be at a disadvantage. So if you can possibly open a PayPal account, do so. A business checking account is perhaps not essential, but really you need to keep your business and your personal expenses separate for many reasons, taxation being one of the main ones. Business registration. This may in fact be compulsory in some areas, so it should perhaps be nearer the top, but in many areas it's optional. You'll need to check for local regulations. What about having a business entity? This can save you thousands in taxes. If you're thinking about this, think about a Nevada registered LLC. An LLC does not need a board of directors and can have just one person as the sole manager. It's not liable for self-employment tax in the USA, and it also provides legal protection for your personal assets. Do you need this now? Probably not. It is something you can add later, but bear it in mind. I want to disclaim here the fact that I'm not qualified to offer legal advice and I'm not an attorney or a CPA. You should always consult with professionals like that before making any financial decisions. You could also be thinking about an accountant or bookkeeper if you're not going to keep the records yourself, because your records need to be kept, and if you do not feel comfortable doing this yourself, then it would be wise to get a bookkeeper and then use a CPA or similar for your tax calculations at the end of the year. There are also some very good accounting software packages that make keeping your own records pretty easy. These vary depending on where you base your business. They'll be different for the UK and the USA and probably many other countries. These are now mostly monthly subscription services, although you may still be able to find the odd one that is a once-only payment for the software which installs on your computer. What about a lawyer? Once again, it's optional. It's unlikely that you'll need to retain one when just starting out. But maybe just sound out a few and then add their name and number to your files, just in case you need them. It's far easier to do a search now, find somebody, know where they are, and then if something crops up, you've got a name and number you can call instantly, rather than starting to search. A telephone. It's not essential for an online business. You probably have at least one already. And using one for an internet business depends on how you intend to run it. I suggest a good option may be using Skype. And you can, if needed, get a Skype number that folks can call, and this will keep your personal phones personal. Insurance. For a business from home, you may not need any additional insurance, but that depends on the scope of your business, and I suggest contacting an attorney if in doubt. Now there are other things you'll probably need, such as a domain, hosting, FTP software and so on, but we'll cover those in separate modules, so there's no need to worry about them now. And if you have 200 plus set aside for your startup costs, that will cover everything you'll need as you progress through the course. For the action steps from this lesson, I want you to go through the checklist and make sure you have all the essentials and as many of the other items as you think necessary at this time. Below I also have a link to the computer backup service that I provide with sorp.com, and I recommend you take a look at it. It starts at just $7 a month and it comes bundled with other tools that you will find useful in the future, and they're all included in the price. I don't believe there's any better value available, and it comes with a strong affiliate plan, which will fit nicely in with the training as we progress. So now we've covered what you need to have, the next lesson will cover what you need to know. So be on the lookout for lesson number 9. Until then, enjoy life and keep smiling. God bless. Graham.